Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, we will follow the events of episode 16. In the previous episode, Ning Ke told Chen Zixian that he had suffered too much pain since childhood. He lost his parents in the massacre when he was only 4 years old, committed murder for the first time, and then had to survive alone while protecting Tang Tang for many years. Because all of that suffering had been caused by the people connected to the massacre of the general's residence, Ning Ke wanted to kill every one of them and use their blood to wash away the blood on his own hands. After that, Ning Ke coldly killed Chen Zixian, completing the removal of the second name from his revenge list. And now, let's begin the events of episode 16. Tang Tang immediately opened her umbrella and escorted Ning Ke away. However, after returning to the old brush house, Ning Ke was not happy at all. He had already exhausted himself and been soaked by the rain, so he quickly fell ill. During his fever, Ning Ke finally revealed why he was desperately trying to enter the academy and why he continued enduring the torment on the second floor of the old library every day. Hao Hu was simply too powerful. If Ning Ke could not step onto the path of cultivation, he would never be able to take revenge. Even though he knew that the chance of becoming a cultivator was extremely slim, Ning Ke still wanted to keep trying. He even declared that if Haoshan truly stood in his way, then he would defy heaven itself. That night, while drifting in and out of consciousness from his fever, memories of his bloody life repeatedly appeared in his mind. Ning Ke suffered terribly and kept asking why, while Tang Tang could only stay by his side and take care of him. The next morning, Ning Q's fever had gone down. However, he still felt useless. He had spent years reading books about cultivation, yet he still could not understand anything. No matter how desperately he tried, he still could not step onto the path of cultivation. Even killing one person had left him so exhausted that he ended up seriously ill. At the same time, inside the imperial palace, the emperor of Great Tang, Li Zhongyi, was also trapped in a deep sense of loneliness and unease. The master had left to travel around the world. Cao Xiaoshu had left Chang'an, and Liang Shi had also recently departed. When the emperor returned to the imperial study, a private place where he personally arranged his books and calligraphy and never allowed anyone else to enter freely, he suddenly noticed that one row of books seemed to have been moved. The emperor of Great Tang soon discovered a piece of paper hidden inside the imperial study. On it were 5 words written in bold ink: "Flowers bloom beyond the other shore." He immediately became furious. Someone had dared to enter his private study without permission, and had even used his own brush to write those words. Tuo Changshan quickly realized that the only person who could have done such a thing was Ning Ke. However, because he had previously denied that Ning Ke had ever entered the palace, he had no choice but to find a way to conceal the truth. He immediately ordered his subordinates never to admit that Ning Ke had been there. After calming down and carefully examining the 5 words, the emperor gradually began to understand their deeper meaning. "Fish leap into the sea at this time" reminded him of Cao Xiaoshu. Meanwhile, "Flowers bloom beyond the other shore" made him think about how he had kept his old friend by his side for far too long. In the end, the emperor realized that perhaps allowing others to become free was also a way of returning freedom to himself. His mood gradually became more relaxed. But then, he was completely captivated by the beauty of the 5 characters. He was shocked to discover that the calligraphy was extraordinarily beautiful, even far better than his own writing. The emperor immediately ordered an investigation into the identity of the person who had written the words. However, he specifically ordered everyone to treat that person with the utmost courtesy, because he wanted to invite this calligraphy master into the palace and personally learn from him. Tuo Changshan was both delighted and terrified. If he admitted that the person who had written the words was Ning Ke, then he and his subordinates would be guilty of deceiving the emperor. But if he refused to admit it, they would miss a great opportunity to earn credit. In the end, Tuo Changshan decided to continue denying that Ning Ke had ever entered the palace. Once a lie had been told, he could only continue hiding the truth until the very end. All he could do was hope that, with enough time, the matter would gradually fade away. Meanwhile, at the academy, everyone was surprised when Ning Ke suddenly failed to appear. He did not come to class, and he did not go to the second floor of the old library as usual. The students began discussing the matter among themselves. Even the female teacher on the second floor kept glancing toward the staircase and waiting. She had never approved of Ning Ke risking his life by reading books until he damaged his own body. However, after witnessing his persistence for so many days, she had gradually begun to admire him. Since Ning Ke did not appear that day, she assumed that he had finally given up. For some reason, she could not help but feel a little disappointed. After Ning Ke took a leave of absence because of his illness, the female teacher on the second floor gradually became accustomed to the silence. She did not know that Ning Ke had only temporarily stopped coming because he had a fever. Meanwhile, Chen Pipi secretly emerged from a hidden passage inside the bookshelf to check the thin book in which he had previously left some advice for Ning Ke. When he discovered that several days had passed and Ning Ke still had not replied, Chen Pipi became extremely angry. He had wanted to use his own knowledge to guide someone who was struggling on the path of cultivation, yet that person had not even bothered to respond. After 5 days of being taken care of by Tang Tang, Ning Ke had completely recovered. Although Tang Tang forced him to eat, rest, and stay away from books, training, and alcohol, he finally returned to the academy. His classmates all came to ask about his health. Kui Yuxian was especially worried because he knew that Ning Ke still intended to continue reading on the second floor of the old library. Ning Ke simply smiled and said that he had already missed several days and needed to make up for lost time. Even if reading made him vomit blood, he said that he would eventually get used to it. After reaching the second floor, Ning Ke politely greeted the female teacher before returning to the bookshelf. He immediately took out the thin book called A Preliminary Investigation of the Qi Sea and Snow Mountain. Then he noticed that the piece of paper he had previously left inside the book now had many more words written on the back. The lines were extremely small, but the strokes were natural, confident, and free. They were the instructions left behind by Chen Pipi. Chen Pipi rejected the idea that what people saw was not necessarily reality. He explained that objective things could truly exist, but the way people perceived and understood them could create an entirely different world. What the eyes saw, what the mind thought, and what something truly was could all be completely different. Through these strange yet profound explanations, Chen Pipi finally helped Ning Ke understand the fundamental problem that had trapped him for so long. Ning Ke read the words on the piece of paper and stood frozen as if he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly realized that he had been searching in the wrong direction all this time. Although he still did not know what was behind the door to cultivation, Chen Pipi's guidance had finally allowed him to discover where that door truly was. After reading the mysterious guidance inside the book, Ning Ke spent a long time thinking about the person who had secretly helped him. He believed that the person might be a genius cultivation teacher from the academy. Although the explanation was somewhat vulgar, the way it explained the problem was extremely simple and easy to understand. Ning Ke realized that if he wanted to read books in order to cultivate, he could not focus on the meaning of every word. Instead, he had to look directly at the written characters themselves and separate the writing from the meaning attached to it. Ning Ke understood that this was incredibly difficult. The characters he had known for years had already become instinctive to him. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly remembered the character Yang, meaning eternal, and the famous 8 principles of the character Yang. From that, he came up with a foolish yet daring method. He would break every character down into individual brush strokes and observe each stroke separately, instead of allowing all the strokes to combine into a meaningful character. When he opened a preliminary investigation of the Qi Sea and Snow Mountain, Ning Ke began experimenting with the character Tian, meaning heaven. He slowly observed each horizontal stroke, each sweeping stroke, and each diagonal stroke, trying not to let them combine into a complete character. Thanks to nearly 20 years of experience with calligraphy, he gradually succeeded. The characters that had once caused his spirit to fall into chaos now appeared clearly, slowly, and peacefully before him, like leaves drifting across a calm lake. Ning Ke gradually entered a state of peace unlike anything he had experienced before. He no longer fainted, lost consciousness, or vomited. Instead, he quietly observed every individual brushstroke. The female teacher on the other side of the room also sensed the change and smiled, realizing that he had finally made progress. However, when Ning Ke reached the character Shi, meaning breath, he could no longer maintain his concentration. The character suddenly appeared in its complete form. His spiritual world was instantly shaken, forcing him to stop. Although he was extremely weak, Ning Ke still smiled. For the first time, he had truly touched the door to the path of cultivation that he had been searching for all this time. After resting and recalling the sensation he had just experienced, Ning Ke immediately took out his brush and wrote a reply to the mysterious person. He sincerely thanked the person for the guidance, explained the method of breaking characters down into individual strokes, and described the sensation he had experienced. The strokes seemed to drift like leaves on the surface of a lake. Yet they appeared to contain some kind of hidden order. Ning Ke seriously asked whether the thing he had sensed inside his Qi Si might actually be thought power. After reading the mysterious guidance, Ning Ke had finally discovered a new method of cultivation. He used the character Yang as the foundation and broke each character into separate brush strokes. Instead of looking at the meaning of the characters, he focused only on the strokes themselves. For the first time, he was able to read peacefully without being knocked unconscious, vomiting, or falling into a state of mental chaos. Although he still did not completely understand the secrets of cultivation, Ning Ke knew that he had truly found the door leading into the world of cultivation. Afterward, he wrote a reply to the mysterious person who had left him the guidance. He sincerely expressed his gratitude and asked about the feeling of the strokes drifting like leaves on a lake. He also wondered whether the sensation he had felt was actually thought power. Before leaving, Ning Ke also asked the female teacher for some guidance. She gave him an important sentence. Look at the character, forget its form, preserve its meaning. With a heart that acts without emotion, that is thought. Ning Ke understood that his current method was still far from reaching such a level. However, the female teacher's words gave him a new direction on the path of cultivation. When Ning Ke went downstairs, he unexpectedly found his classmates waiting for him. They had gathered to organize a class outing. Since everyone had deliberately postponed the gathering until he recovered from his illness, Ning Ke could not refuse. At Tutu Yilin's suggestion, the group decided to go to Red Sleeve House to drink and watch the performances. The large group of academy students immediately caused the officials and wealthy merchants who were enjoying themselves there to hurriedly move aside. The arrival of so many young men and women caused the already lively Red Sleeve House to become even more chaotic. Tutu Yilin wanted to invite Miss Lu Shui to join them, but learned that she was currently taking time off after working hard to prepare performances for the imperial family. Therefore, she was not sure whether Lu Shui would agree to appear. Meanwhile, Ning Ke quietly worried about who would have to pay the bill for the entire group. He believed that the unlucky person would definitely be Kui Yuxian, a wealthy local who had lived in Chang'an for many years. However, Kui Yuxian immediately denied it and declared that Ning Ke himself would be paying for the night. He then loudly called for the manager and demanded that both Lu Shui and Shui Juer be invited to come out and entertain the group. And that brings us to the end of episode 16. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can follow the latest developments in the next episode.
chí của Ninh Quyết mạnh đến mức ngay cả trời cao cũng phải
Đáng thương nhất trên đời mà.
thực sự của Thư Viện nên cố tình kéo Tạ Thừa. Vẫn cùng thất bại, nhờ đó, Ninh
Vẫn chưa đủ.
Kháng học, chưa ăn thật no, đi dạo quanh hồ rồi lên tầng 2 đọc sách, sau đó lại bị khiêng xuống.
Nhân lúc này, gạch luôn cái tên thứ hai trong danh sách đi.
Ninh Quyết mới biết tầng 2 Cựu Thư Lâu chính là cửa vào tầng 2 bí mật của thư viện, nơi chỉ những
Đi nữa nhé. Được. Mai sẽ không đi nữa.
Dần dần, hầu hết học sinh đều bỏ cuộc, chỉ còn hắn và Tạ Thừa vẫn kiên trì. Thiên tài xuất chúng mới có thể đặt chân đến. Sau khi biết điều này, hắn thẳng thắn tuyên bố.